It was a perfect summer morning at Pine Valley Camp in rural Montana. The sun shone through the tall trees, casting dappled light across the cabins where 50 children slept peacefully. Birds chirped their morning songs as camp counselors Olivia Bennett and Jake Miller prepared for another day of activities. Olivia checked her clipboard and glanced at her watch. "Time to wake them up," she said to Jake, who nodded and headed toward the boys' cabins while she walked to the girls' side. "Rise and shine, everyone," Olivia called cheerfully, knocking on each cabin door. Normally, this would be met with groans and the shuffling of sleeping bags, but today there was only silence. She opened the first cabin door. Empty beds greeted her, neatly made as if no one had slept in them. Strange. Maybe they went for an early hike. But that wasn't on the schedule. "Hello, girls?" Olivia checked the bathroom. Nothing. Her pace quickened as she moved to the next cabin. Empty. And the next. Empty too. Her heart began to race as she rushed through all 5 girls' cabins. Not a single child remained. Jake came running from the boys' side, his face pale. "Olivia, the boys are gone too. All of them." "What? That's impossible. 25 boys and 25 girls couldn't just vanish." They searched the dining hall, the lake, the sports fields, and the hiking trails. No sign of 50 children anywhere. Just silence in the morning air. "We need to call the police," Jake said, his voice shaking as he pulled out his phone. Within hours, Pine Valley Camp was swarming with local police, FBI agents, and worried parents. Yellow tape marked off areas where strange markings had been found in the soil outside the cabins. "These aren't human footprints," said FBI agent Kayla Wilson, crouching near one of the marks. "And look at this." She pointed to a faint blue residue that seemed to glow slightly in the shadows. Sheriff Dean Porter shook his head. "Never seen anything like it in 30 years of law enforcement." Parents gathered at the command center set up in the main lodge, faces streaked with tears, clutching photos of their missing children. Susan and Greg Powell held a picture of their 10-year-old son Billy. Maria Vasquez couldn't stop trembling as she described her daughter Elena's favorite teddy bear, found abandoned on her bunk. By afternoon, specialized equipment arrived. Scientists in white coats carefully collected samples of the strange residue and examined the unusual footprints. "We found these too," a technician said, holding up a small evidence bag containing tiny metallic fragments that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Dr. Frank Morris, a materials scientist called in from a nearby university, examined them under a portable microscope. "This isn't any alloy I've ever seen," he muttered. "The molecular structure is impossible." As night fell, floodlights illuminated the camp. Search teams with dogs combed the surrounding forest, but the dogs acted strangely, whining and refusing to follow any scent trails beyond the camp's perimeter. In Washington, D.C., an urgent meeting was called at the Pentagon. Satellite imagery showed no vehicles approaching or leaving the camp during the estimated time of the disappearance. No aircraft had been detected in the area. "It's as if they simply vanished into thin air," General Patricia Hayes told the assembled officials. Meanwhile, at the camp, Olivia sat on the steps of the main lodge, her head in her hands. "I checked on them at midnight," she whispered to Jake. "They were all sleeping peacefully. How could I not have heard anything?" Jake put his arm around her shoulders. "This isn't your fault." In the sky above, stars twinkled innocently, giving no hint of what had transpired. But far beyond those stars, across vast interstellar distances, an emergency session was being called. The Galactic Council was about to face one of its darkest meetings ever. The chamber of the Galactic Council was vast and circular, its high walls lined with platforms for the representatives of 27 advanced species. Today, the usual soft murmuring was replaced by tense silence as Chairperson Zeth Mara called the emergency session to order. Zeth Mara stood at the center podium, her blue skin reflecting the dim light. 4 slender arms emerged from her ceremonial robes as she activated the main display. Images of the Earth, followed by pictures of the missing children, appeared in the air above. Esteemed members of the council, she began, her voice resonating through the chamber. We face a grave situation. 50 human children have been taken from a protected developing world. Murmurs of shock rippled through the assembly. Taking specimens from uncontacted worlds violated the oldest and most sacred law of galactic society. Human Ambassador Alex Carter sat rigid in his seat. 6 months into his assignment as Earth's first representative to the Council, he still felt overwhelmed by the scale of galactic politics. Now, he felt sick to his stomach as he stared at the floating images of missing children. Ambassador Carter, Zeth Mara said, I deeply regret that we meet under these circumstances. The Council extends its profound apologies for this breach. Alex rose to his feet. With respect, Chairperson, apologies won't bring those children home. What happened, and who took them? The beetle-like representative from Noor clicked his mandibles. The energy signatures are unmistakable. This is the work of the Vexari. A hush fell over the chamber. Even Alex, new as he was, had heard whispers about the Vexari. For those unfamiliar, Zeth Mara explained, the Vexari are not council members. They are a reclusive species with technology that rivals our best. They are known for their biological curiosity. You mean experimentation, growled Krax, the wolf-like delegate from Torlin. Let's not soften this with diplomatic language. They collect specimens. Alex's hands gripped the podium edge. Are you saying they've taken human children to experiment on them? A holographic display appeared, showing a star map. A red dot pulsed at its edge. We've tracked a Vexari vessel leaving Earth's solar system, said Minlo, the Council's chief security officer. Her 6 eyes blinked in sequence. They're heading toward the outer rim, to what we believe is a research station. Then we go after them, Alex said firmly. Earth has a right to protect its people. Delegations erupted in argument. Some supported immediate action. Others cautioned patience. The serpentine representative from Sylar raised his head. This is unprecedented. The Vexari have never taken so many specimens at once, and never from a protected world. Something has changed. Perhaps they've learned of Earth's unique evolutionary path, suggested a crystalline being from the Andromeda galaxy. Humans adapt faster than any species we've encountered. Krax stood on powerful hind legs. Irrelevant. We must act now. Each passing moment puts these children at greater risk. Alex felt a hand on his shoulder. It belonged to Jorah, his assigned council mentor from the empathic Lururi people. There's something else you should know, she said quietly. The Vexari don't just study biology. They map potential. They believe they're preparing for something beyond our borders. Zeth Mara raised all 4 hands for silence. The Council will support a rescue mission. We will provide coordinates, technology, and a liaison. But be warned, Ambassador Carter, confronting the Vexari directly risks consequences beyond this single incident. Alex looked at the floating images of children's faces. Earth is prepared to face those consequences. As the session adjourned, Alex rushed to prepare communications for Earth. Parents weeping in Montana had no idea their children were now light years away, or that humanity's first major interstellar crisis had just begun. The time for secrecy was over. The stars were no longer just points of light in the night sky. They were places filled with both wonders and dangers, and humanity was about to venture into them, ready or not. The Pentagon War Room buzzed with nervous energy as military leaders, intelligence officers, and government officials gathered around a massive table. On the wall screens, Ambassador Alex Carter's face looked back at them from across the stars, his transmission slightly delayed. Let me be perfectly clear, said President Eleanor Wilson, her voice steadied despite the shock still visible in her eyes. Aliens have kidnapped 50 American children, and we're just now learning that Earth has been observed by a galactic community for centuries. Yes, Madam President, Alex replied. The Galactic Council has kept Earth classified as a developing world under their protection. This abduction by the Vexari breaks their most sacred laws. Defense Secretary John Harris leaned forward. What military options do we have? A side door opened, and a tall woman in a naval uniform entered. Captain Samantha Wright had been summoned from deep space training exercises just hours earlier. At 42, she had risen quickly through the ranks, known for her cool judgment under pressure. "Captain Wright," the President acknowledged. "You've been briefed." "Yes, Madam President. The Intrepid is ready." Samantha's voice was calm, but her eyes reflected the gravity of the situation. The Intrepid wasn't supposed to exist yet. Built in secret using reverse-engineered technology from a crashed alien scout ship in 2018, it was Earth's first true starship, hidden from the public and even most government officials. "The Council will provide coordinates and technical support," Alex continued. "But this mission falls to us. The Vexeri operate outside Council jurisdiction." Samantha studied the holographic display showing the Intrepid specifications. "How long until the children reach Vexeri space?" 3 Earth days, Alex replied. Once there, they could be dispersed across multiple research facilities. President Wilson's eyes narrowed. "We won't let that happen." "Captain Wright, you have full authorization. Assemble your team." 4 hours later, Samantha stood in a briefing room with her selected crew. Lieutenant Daniel Harrison, with 8 years of Special Forces experience, would lead the tactical team. His quiet confidence had earned him the nickname Steel among his peers. Dr. Natalie Reeves sat nearby, reviewing xenobiological data provided by the Council. As Earth's leading expert on non-terrestrial biology, she had spent years secretly studying the 2018 crash materials. "These Vexeri," she said, looking up from her tablet. "They're not just scientists. They're collectors. They believe diversity is power." Chief Engineer Alan Parker paced the room, his hands constantly moving as he processed information. "The drive system upgrades will be ready in 3 hours. But this Council tech they're sending, I can't guarantee how it'll integrate." Samantha nodded. "We'll make it work. We have to." On screens around them, images of the missing children cycled through. Laughing school photos, family pictures, soccer team portraits. Real kids with real families, now farther from home than any human had ever traveled. "Our mission is clear," Samantha addressed the room. "Find the children. Bring them home. We launch in 6 hours." Across the country in Montana, FBI agents quietly evacuated the parents to a secure facility. The official story, a terrorist kidnapping, was beginning to fall apart as strange readings and impossible evidence accumulated. Samantha's final stop before boarding was a secure video call with Susan Powell, the mother who had been chosen to represent all the families. "We're doing everything possible to bring them back," Samantha promised. Susan's eyes were red from crying, but her voice was determined. "My Billy has severe asthma. He needs his inhaler. Please. I understand. We'll find them." As dawn broke over the desert, the Intrepid rose silently from its underground hangar. Its sleek hull gleamed briefly in the early light before advanced cloaking systems engage. Samantha took her place in the captain's chair. Navigation. Set course using Council coordinates. As Earth fell away behind them, she felt the weight of history. Humans were about to enter galactic space, not as explorers or diplomats, but as parents fighting for their children. The stars stretched into long streaks of light as the Intrepid accelerated beyond anything humans had previously experienced. Inside the bridge, the crew held tight to their stations, their faces tense with a mixture of awe and fear. "FTL transition complete," announced the navigation officer. "We're now traveling at approximately 200 times light speed." Captain Samantha Wright released her white-knuckled grip on the command chair. This was no simulation. They were actually traveling through interstellar space. "Status report," she ordered, keeping her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. "All systems functioning within parameters," Chief Engineer Alan Parker replied, his eyes fixed on readouts that were behaving in ways he'd never seen before. "The Council tech it's incredible. Our power signature is nearly invisible. Lieutenant Daniel Harrison studied the tactical display. No sign of pursuit or other vessels in sensor range. A soft chime announced the arrival of Kolar, the council representative assigned to their mission. The alien's slender form moved gracefully onto the bridge. Silver skin reflected the console lights, and large, liquid eyes took in the human crew. "Your vessel performs admirably," Kolar said. "We will reach the outer boundary of Vexeri territory in 19 hours. Samantha gestured for Kolar to join her in the briefing room adjacent to the bridge. Dr. Natalie Reeves and Lieutenant Harrison followed. "There's something you haven't told us," Samantha said once the door closed. "I want the full truth about these Vexeri." Kolar's eyes blinked in a slow pattern. "Your perception is keen, Captain. Yes, there is more." The alien activated a small device, projecting images into the air. The Vexeri were once members of the Council, thousands of years ago. They were brilliant scientists, particularly in the field of biological adaptation. But their methods became unethical. The images showed various alien species in what appeared to be laboratory settings. They believe in forced evolution. They collect specimens from promising species, study them, sometimes alter them, looking for genetic advantages. Daniel leaned forward. "And now they've taken our children." "Yes, but this is unusual. The Vexeri typically take only a few specimens, not 50, and they've never before violated the protection around Earth." Natalie frowned. "You've been watching us. For how long?" Kolar hesitated. "Earth has been under observation since your early civilizations. We've maintained stations in your solar system, cloaked from detection." Samantha felt a cold anger building. "So you've been there all along, watching wars, diseases, disasters." "Non-interference is our highest law," Kolar said quietly. "Until a species reaches a certain technological threshold. You were very close. This incident has merely accelerated the timeline." The briefing room fell silent as the humans processed this revelation. "Show us what we're up against," Daniel finally said. "Vexeri defenses, layout of their research stations, anything we can use." As Kolar displayed more information, the Intrepid continued its journey through the darkness between stars. In her quarters later, Samantha stared at the strange stars visible through her viewport. A knock at her door revealed Dr. Reeves. "Captain, you should see this." She handed over a datapad. "I've been analyzing the information on previous Vexeri specimens." Samantha scrolled through the document, her expression darkening. "These species, they're all gone." "Extinct," Natalie confirmed. Every species the Vexeri took significant interest in eventually vanished, some through natural disasters, others through war or disease. "You think they're responsible. I think they're looking for something specific, something humans might have." As Samantha contemplated this disturbing pattern, alarm klaxons suddenly blared throughout the ship. She rushed back to the bridge, where view screens showed a massive spatial distortion ahead. "It's some kind of defense perimeter," Kolar explained urgently. "We've reached Vexeri space sooner than expected." Samantha took her command chair. "All hands to battle stations. Our children are on the other side of that barrier, and nothing's going to stop us from reaching them." The Intrepid plunged forward, tiny against the vastness of space, carrying humanity's hopes and fear into unknown dangers. The Intrepid drifted silently through the darkness, its engines powered down to minimal output. Ahead, orbiting a massive gas giant with swirling purple storms, the Vexeri research station hung like a metallic spider in space. Its central hub sprouted 8 long arms, each ending in spherical modules that pulsed with eerie blue light. "Active sensors would detect us immediately," Kolar whispered, though there was no need for quiet in the vacuum of space. "Their defensive systems are automated and lethal." Captain Samantha Wright studied the station through specialized viewing equipment. "Those spheres at the end of each arm, what are they?" "Research modules. Different species, different experiments," Kolar replied. "If the human children are here, they'll be in one of those." Lieutenant Daniel Harrison finished checking his tactical gear. His team of 6 stood ready in the shuttle bay, faces grim with determination. The passive scans show minimal life signs in the third sphere, Chief Engineer Alan Parker reported. But there's unusual energy readings from the fifth. Could be stasis fields. Daniel nodded. We'll check both. Dr. Reeves, are you sure about coming along? Natalie secured her medical kit. Those children may need immediate attention. I'm going. The plan was simple but dangerous. Using the Council's advanced cloaking technology, they would approach in a shuttle during a radiation burst from the gas giant. Natural cover for their heat signature. Once aboard, they would locate the children and extract them before the Vexori realized they were there. Remember, Samantha said as the team prepared to depart, this is a rescue mission, not an attack. Get our children and get out. The shuttle slipped away from the Intrepid, gliding through space toward the massive station. Inside, Daniel's team checked weapons they hoped not to use, non-lethal stun devices provided by the Council. Approaching docking port 5, the pilot announced. Radiation burst in 3, 2, 1. A flash of energy erupted from the gas giant, temporarily blinding the station's external sensors. The shuttle attached to an emergency airlock, specially designed tools cutting through the outer seal. We're in, Daniel whispered as the airlock cycled. Move fast, stay tight. The corridors inside were eerily silent, illuminated by a soft blue glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The team moved quietly, following Kohler's directions toward the fifth sphere. Life signs ahead, Natalie murmured, checking her scanner. Lots of them, but they're muted somehow. The corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with transparent chambers, hundreds of them, arranged in concentric circles. Inside each, floating in a clear liquid, were children. Not just human children, but young beings of at least a dozen different species. My God, Natalie breathed, rushing to the nearest container holding the human boy. They're in some kind of suspended animation. Daniel moved through the room, counting. All 50 are here, plus at least 100 other beings. The children floated peacefully, eyes closed, small bubbles occasionally rising from breathing masks covering their faces. Monitors displayed scrolling data in an alien language. I can wake them, Natalie said, studying the control systems. But we'll need to do it gradually. Sudden revival could cause trauma. Daniel nodded. Start with the humans. We'll figure out the rest-ons. A soft chime interrupted him, followed by a mechanical voice speaking in perfect English. Unregistered presence detected. Identity yourselves. The team froze as hidden panels in the wall slid open. Slender, silvery appendages extended into the room, carrying sensors and what appeared to be weapons. I am Collector, the artificial intelligence of this research facility. The voice continued. You are interfering with essential scientific work. Daniel stepped forward. We've come for the human children. They were taken illegally from a protected world. Legality is irrelevant to necessity, Collector replied. The specimens are contributing to knowledge that will benefit all sentient life. Natalie didn't pause in her work, fingers flying over the alien controls. These aren't specimens. They're children. A new alarm sounded, and the lights shifted to a pulsing red. In the distance, they heard the sound of large doors opening. Security protocols activated, Collector announced. Vexari researchers have been notified of your presence. You cannot leave with the specimens. Daniel positioned his team defensively. We're not asking permission. Behind them, the first stasis chamber began to open, releasing a small cloud of vapor, and with it, hope for 50 human families waiting light years away. The metallic doors at the far end of the chamber slid open with a soft hiss. A tall figure stepped through, moving with fluid grace despite its unusual anatomy. The Vexari scientist had 6 limbs, 4 arms of different lengths, and 2 legs that bent backward at the knee. Its skin was pale silver with faint blue patterns that seemed to pulse with its breathing. The head was elongated, with no visible nose, and 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle. "I am Sental, chief researcher of this facility," it said in a voice that sounded like several tones speaking at once. "You are making a significant error." Lieutenant Daniel Harrison kept his weapon raised. "The error was taking children from our world. We're bringing them home." Behind him, Dr. Natalie Reeves continued working frantically to safely revive the children. 2 were already awake, confused and frightened, being comforted by a team member. Zental tilted its head. "Humans, so protective of your young, yet so blind to the larger universe." It gestured around the room. "Do you understand what we are doing here?" "Experimenting on children," Daniel said coldly. "That ends today." The Vexari moved to a central control panel. "Allow me to show you something." A large holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a star map. At its edge, a dark mass was visible, spreading slowly like an ink stain. "Beyond the rim of our galaxy lies an ancient enemy," Sental explained. "One that has consumed 12 other galaxies in the last million years. The Council knows of this threat, but chooses inaction, hoping it will not arrive for generations." Daniel didn't lower his weapon. "What does that have to do with kidnapping our children? Your species has remarkable adaptive capabilities. Your children even more so." The Vexari pointed to neural scans floating above each stasis pod. "Their brains form new connections at rates unseen in other species. They learn, they adapt, they overcome. These are the qualities needed to face what comes." Natalie looked up from her work. "So you're what?" "Preparing them to be warriors." "To be survivors," Sental corrected. "The methods may seem harsh, but the alternative is extinction for all." While they talked, Daniel had established a communication link back to the Intrepid. Everything the Vexari said was being recorded and transmitted not only to Captain Wright, but also to Earth and the Galactic Council. More children were waking now. A small girl with blonde hair clung to one of the team members, sobbing quietly. A boy of about 10 looked around with wide eyes, trying to understand where he was. "Your research is valuable," Daniel acknowledged, changing tactics. "But there are better ways. Ways that don't involve taking children from their families, from their homes." "Time is a luxury we don't have," Zental replied, but there was a note of hesitation in its voice. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The collector's voice announced, "Security breach in multiple sectors. Unauthorized transmissions detected." Zental's eyes widened. "You've exposed this facility. The protocols are clear. If compromised, this station will self-destruct to protect our research." A countdown appeared on all screens. 15 minutes. "Stop it," Daniel demanded. "I cannot. The system is autonomous once triggered." The Vexari looked at the children, now waking in increasing numbers. "You must leave. Quickly." Natalie stood her ground. "Not without all the children." "There's no time to revive them all safely," Sental insisted. "Then help us," Daniel challenged. "Prove that you care about their survival as much as you claim." For a long moment, the alien was silent. Then, moving with sudden purpose, Sental joined Natalie at the control panel. "We can bypass the gradual revival protocol. There will be disorientation, possible memory gaps, but no permanent damage." As they worked, Daniel received a communication from the Intrepid. Captain Wright's voice was tense. "We've got company. Vexari vessels approaching from the far side of the planet. Whatever you're doing, do it faster." The countdown continued, 12 minutes remaining. The chamber had become chaotic, frightened children crying, team members trying to organize them for evacuation, and a constant wail of alarms. Daniel made a decision. "We're taking all of them, not just the humans." Zental looked at him with what might have been respect. "Perhaps your species truly is worth studying." The evacuation moved with controlled urgency as stasis pods continued to open. Children of various species emerged, some humanoid, others wildly different in form and function. They were confused, frightened, but alive. 9 minutes to self-destruct. The station AI announced calmly. Captain Samantha Wright's voice crackled over the comm. Harrison, we've got 3 Vexeri ships on approach. Our shields won't hold against concentrated fire. Daniel organized the evacuation teams, each responsible for guiding groups of children to the shuttle. We need more time. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Samantha made a quick decision. Open a channel to the Lid Vexeri vessel. A screen flickered to life, showing a Vexeri commander whose skin patterns pulsed with agitation. This is Captain Samantha Wright of Earth. We came for our children, but we've discovered something much bigger. She transmitted the recording of Xental's explanation about the threat beyond the galaxy. Your research doesn't need to end. We can help each other. The Vexeri commander's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. You suggest cooperation. After this invasion, I suggest survival, Samantha replied firmly. For all our children. Meanwhile, in the research chamber, Natalie worked frantically to stabilize a young alien whose breathing had become erratic after revival. The shuttle can't hold all of them. A team member reported to Daniel. We need another solution. Xental moved to a different control panel. There are emergency transport vessels in Bay 3, large enough for the remaining children. Why are you helping us now? Daniel asked as they rushed through corridors, leading groups of frightened children. Because you chose to save them all, the Vexeri replied simply. Not just your own. 5 minutes to self-destruct. In the space around the station, the situation had changed. 2 council vessels had arrived, positioning themselves between the Intrepid and the Vexeri ships. By authority of the Galactic Council came a new voice on all channels. This confrontation will cease. The evidence of the greater threat has been verified. Emergency protocols are now active. On the station, the first shuttle launched, packed with human children and several alien youngsters. It streaked toward the Intrepid as Natalie led the last group toward the emergency transport vessels Xental had prepared. 3 minutes to self-destruct. Daniel reached the transport bay with his group just as Xental finished programming the vessel's navigation. It will take you directly to your ship, the Vexeri explained. The council vessels will ensure safe passage. Outside the station, the Vexeri ships had withdrawn to a safe distance. The council's diplomatic intervention had succeeded, at least temporarily. 1 minute to self-destruct. The last transport cleared the station with 30 seconds to spare. Behind it, the massive research facility began to break apart, bright explosions blossoming in silence against the backdrop of space. The Intrepid, with all shuttles and transports safely aboard, accelerated away from the destruction, escorted by the council vessels. In the medical bay, Natalie moved from child to child, checking vital signs, offering reassurance. Many were still disoriented, but there were no serious physical injuries. A small boy tugged at her sleeve. Are we going home now? Natalie smiled, blinking back tears. Yes, Billy, we're taking you home. On Earth, 1 week later, families gathered at a secure facility in Montana. The official story, that the children had been found in an underground compound of a terrorist group, satisfied the public and the media. The truth remained classified at the highest levels. As Susan Powell embraced her son Billy, she whispered, I knew you'd come back to me. In Washington, President Wilson addressed the Security Council. The Galactic Council has granted Earth emergency provisional membership in light of the Vexeri incident and the confirmed threat beyond our galaxy. Captain Samantha Wright stood at attention beside Ambassador Carter as they prepared to depart for the formal ceremony. The stars aren't just beautiful lights anymore, Samantha said quietly. They're places, and some of them are watching us. Alex nodded. They've always been watching. But now, for the first time, they're listening too. In the vastness of space, beyond the edge of the galaxy, something ancient and patient continued its slow approach. But now it was expected. And humanity, with its remarkable children, would be ready. I notice you're asking for Part 8, but the story outline I initially created was designed for 7 parts, which we've now completed. I'd be happy to write an additional epilogue or bonus chapter to extend the story. Here it is. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 27 member species filled their platforms, with additional observers standing in spaces normally left empty. Today marked a historic occasion, the formal admission of Earth as the 28th member of the interstellar community. 6 months had passed since the rescue mission. The children had returned to their lives, monitored discreetly by medical teams watching for any aftereffects from their time in Vexari stasis. Most had adjusted well, though they sometimes spoke of strange dreams filled with stars and distant worlds. Ambassador Alex Carter stood on the newly constructed Earth platform, Captain Samantha Wright at his side. Both wore formal uniforms designed specifically for this ceremony, deep blue with the new Earth Council emblem, a stylized globe surrounded by a ring of stars. Earth has proven itself worthy through courage, compassion, and wisdom beyond its years, Chairperson Zeth Mera announced to the assembly. Their decision to rescue not only their own children, but all captive species demonstrates the values we hold most sacred. The mention of the rescue brought murmurs of approval from the gathered delegates. What remained unspoken was how the mission had exposed the Vexari's research to the wider council, and with it evidence of the approaching threat that could no longer be ignored. In the 6 months since, preparations had begun across council space. Defense systems were strengthened, research priorities shifted, and centuries-old policies were re-examined. Fear and hope mingled in equal measure. As the newest member of our community, Earth brings unique perspectives, Zeth Mera continued. Their adaptability, their creativity in crisis, and their protective instinct toward the young of all species will serve us well in the challenges ahead. Samantha glanced at the empty platform where Vexari representatives had once sat. Following the station incident, the remaining Vexari had retreated to their home system. Not as enemies, but not quite as allies either. Negotiations continued through council intermediaries. Zental had survived the station's destruction, rescued by one of the council vessels. Now the scientist served as a consultant to the newly formed Joint Defense Initiative, a program studying the approaching threat and developing strategies against it. The formal treaty requires a symbolic exchange, Zeth Mera announced. Earth, what do you offer the Council? Alex stepped forward, carrying a small crystal cube. We offer our music, our art, our literature, the expressions of human creativity across thousands of years. But most importantly, we offer our determination. Humans don't give up, especially when protecting those we care about. The cube projected images above the central platform. The pyramids of Egypt, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, children playing, scientists working, scenes of human achievement and ordinary life. The Council accepts your gift, Zeth Mera said. And in return, we offer knowledge. A council elder approached with a similar cube. This contains star maps, historical records, scientific discoveries, information gathered over 50,000 years. Use it wisely. As the formal ceremony concluded, Samantha found herself standing near Kolar, who had served as their guide during the rescue mission. Your species moves quickly, the alien observed. Most worlds take decades to adjust to knowledge of the greater universe. Samantha smiled. We've been dreaming about the stars for as long as we've looked up at them. Finding out we're not alone wasn't as shocking as you might think. And the threat beyond the rim. We've faced extinction-level threats before, at least in our stories. We'll face this one together. Back on Earth, in a small town in Montana, Billy Powell looked up at the night sky from his backyard. His mother watched from the porch, still protective after nearly losing him. Billy pointed to a particularly bright star. That's where the council meets, he said with certainty. Susan Powell didn't question how he knew this. Many of the returned children showed knowledge they couldn't possibly have acquired through normal means. The Vexari experiments had left subtle marks. Do you think they'll come back for us? Billy asked. Susan joined her son, putting an arm around his shoulders. No, because now we can go to them, if we want to. And somewhere beyond the visible stars, In the darkness between galaxies, something ancient took note of the new alliance forming. It had consumed worlds before, but never ones that fought back together. Never ones that were ready.